Welcome to the Ausgel podcast, where we bring the gel ball community together. Each week we have a special guest where we talk about what's new in the world of gel ball, be it milsim, speedball, and everything in between. Now, welcome to our host. Hi, I'm Dan from Ausgel.
And I'm Michael from Tac Toys.
Today, we are going to have a chat with a guy who is now running the operations at Tac Toys. All right, Michael, mate, thank you so much for coming up and joining us.
No, absolute pleasure to be here.
It's mate, this is one I've been really hanging out for. I've wanted to get Tac Toys on the podcast for some time, yeah, I think it's a great opportunity to sort of hear your side of the story for your journey in the industry and that sort of thing and what's been happening. But before we get into that, let's talk about you, who you are. Okay. So, Michael, you face of Tac Toys.
Yep.
Tell us about your background and how you came into gel ball, mate.
So that's probably quite a long story, but for me...
Let's start at childbirth.
So for me, I have a background in, say, premium retail and customer service. So I've worked for companies such as IBM, Apple, Bupa, Samsung, Telstra, and so my latest stint was basically with Samsung, where I've spent about 3 years there being the sales manager and then the service manager for Samsung Consumer Electronics Australia down in Melbourne. So for me, I've been managing big teams down there and looking at, stores that have kind of problems and trying to turn that around, make it, high NPS score, huge increases in turnover and revenue. So that's pretty much my background. But getting into gel ball, for me, I've always kind of really been interested in firearms. Also like the engineering side, not the...
you like to understand how it all works.
Exactly, not the possibility of destruction or anything else like that. But I've always just had an interest in firearms. Kind of stemmed back to when I was about 9 years old, and my dad went on a business trip to Singapore and brought back a BB gun.
Yes.
Nice. So when you could back then. And it was just a manual spring-loaded P226, and it was just, we had crazy amounts of supervised fun with it. And from there, I pretty much just had that kind of interest. I mean, everyone thinks guns are cool, etc. You play Call of Duty, all that kind of stuff. But for me, I moved back from, when I was in Melbourne, actually, I saw that Queensland got gel blasters, and I'm like, how does Queensland have this out of everywhere? Because
that's it. I'm quitting my job and I'm moving to Queensland.
Because Queensland's always kind of in the past been that bit of a nanny state. And I was just like, this is crazy. If I ever get the chance to go back to Queensland, I really want to check these out. I did come back to Queensland. I spent 5 years in Melbourne. Had to come back up due to some unfortunate circumstances with my father having stage 4 cancer.
Sorry to hear.
Thank you. But I came back up basically, and from there, when he was really, really ill, I kind of found gel ball. So that was my opportunity. I needed something to kind of take my mind off things, and I went and bought a Gen 8. And so
JM.
Bought a Jinming Gen 8, and basically, started with that. In the first week, got an 11-volt battery, and was like, this is awesome. Literally in the second week of owning it, I ended up buying a Singularity gearbox, and I'm just like, all right, I'm going to do this. I'm going to build fully functioning gearbox. I really want to do this because it just looks awesome. So that pretty much just building that first Gen 8 Singularity gearbox and struggling and wanting to throw it against the wall for the first 2 weeks, but getting it done in the end and watching it fire, that pretty much ignited everything for me. And then, every kind of waking moment, I was just doing research, looking at everything else I can get, how to do 13-to-1 builds, all that kind of stuff. So I actually really got into it from the building side. And I didn't end up playing gel ball until like a year later or so.
Wow.
So that's pretty much how I got started in gel ball, but how I got started into Tac Toys is kind of a different story.
You're comfortable to tell us about that?
Absolutely. Yeah, so with how I got into Tac Toys, that was an interesting story. Basically, it actually came along from a lot of Beard and Blaster Club. Back then.
I remember that.
So, having gone to like problem stores in the past, I always know there's a reason for something not working, or there's more than what meets the eye in those kind of situations. So I kind of did more research into Tac Toys. Like, they're a huge company, obviously like one of the forerunners in that industry, and I'm kind of looking into it going, what could be going wrong? I watched Gelsoft Warriors videos, watched, the community reaction to it and everything else like that. And I was basically, my dad probably passed away like 3-4 months before this. I was looking to get back into work.
Condolences, mate.
No, thank you. I was looking to get back into work, and basically my background and my degree is in HR.
Yep.
And this was mid-COVID. So I was actually starting to panic a little bit because human resources had been cut down massively as everyone was working from home.
Yep.
So, where they'd have a 3-person HR department, they'd just cut it down to 1 person. Sometimes they'd even cut HR depending on the size of the business. So it was a struggle for work in that field. So, what did I love at the time and what was I passionate about was gel ball. So I took a different approach to what was going on in the community. I thought to myself, I can jump on a bandwagon and write off Tac Toys completely.
Yep.
Or I can approach them and see if they want to change, see if I can be an assistance of them, see where the issues are and what I can do, from 15 years of experience in that kind of industry to help them grow and help them get better. So I actually sent a message to Corey, and at the time I thought he was the owner of the company. So many people did. Corey got my message, passed it on to the owner, and then I basically had an interview with the owner. From there, I pretty much went in fairly ballsy, I'm not going to lie. I highlighted all of their terms and conditions and basically said, all right, like these are the things that need to change, essentially. I understand this is probably coming from a place of just no understanding of Australian consumer law. Like all of these gel ball retailers just started up and they're kind of copying each other's warranty terms and conditions.
I might just interject there because I think that's a really important point you raised there that people really need to know who are watching this. And that's that there are, I remember there was a bit of a witch hunt back then on all retailers basically.
Yeah.
And, one thing that people forget is not everyone is going to be completely experienced in corporate governance and have that understanding, that thorough bureaucratic understanding, because it's such a changing and dynamic environment.
Absolutely.
And, the pressure that was applied to a lot of retailers back then, you can't just assume that they're all going to know everything. It's just not going to happen. So, just wanted to highlight that. And I think it's a good point you raise, and it's good that you've jumped on board to try and help, patch those holes. But anyway, sorry, carry on.
So I had that interview. We basically talked about T's and C's, warranty terms, a lot of things like that. And from what I got from that conversation was Tac Toys was operating, basically a company that had to grow really, really quickly.
Yeah.
And it was growing, faster than expected. It was just absolutely insane. And so the way it was run or managed at the time, it couldn't facilitate the growth and keep up with everything and all of these new blasters and, this industry actually getting regulated to an extent. So that's where they were. And the thing for me to join them was, were they receptive to change? And I 100% got from that interview, yes, we are receptive to change. We, we want to be one of the best in the industry. We want to go on that journey that you could possibly take us on. And so from there, I had about a 2-hour interview and started the same day.
Jeez, that was that.
And that was that, and that's where I am now, and I've been at Tac Toys for over a year now.
Yeah, and I do know that that's probably been quite challenging for you, trying to win back hearts and minds and that sort of thing. How's it all going?
For the most part, I think it's going really, really well. I think there is some old school people in the industry who have probably been burnt in early days. And I would not deny that and completely understand where they're coming from. The thing is I wouldn't have joined if they weren't receptive to change. And there is a lot of change going on. I mean, people were shocked by the things that were changing. Like my second day there, I had a chat with the company owner. I said, let's change the warranty terms. And literally second day on the job, it's now 30-day, 3-month, and 6-month warranty. And everyone was just kind of shocked that it just happened overnight. But I mean, it's what I felt needed to be done, just some classic old school customer service, at the end of the day.
Oh, that's cool.
And so for me, I think it's going really, really well. Like our current customer base, they're incredibly happy, and you're not always going to please everyone.
Yeah.
There are some people who don't agree with things like, making a purchase and then going, you know what, it's not for me, and wanting to return that and opening it and using it for, a few weeks and on the field and taking it to Spec Ops and it's got paint all over it and going, could I get that instead? It doesn't work like that, unfortunately. I mean...
Because as a consumer, I think something that is always forgotten is if you try to return an item like that retailer, depending on the margin, they might have to sell another 3 or 4 gel plasters to cover the cost of that one that's being returned because it can't be resold.
100%. I mean, and so we know we'll do as much as we can to make people happy, but you got to find the balance. And that's the hardest piece. But I think where we're at now, I mean, if you've got a legitimate warranty issue, no one's going to try and, not refund you, swap it, give you a store credit. Like in the last year, for people have always said, Tac Toys never swap anything. We've done 1,900 refunds and store credits, so it's not a small amount. That's a lot of money. And, where our customer satisfaction scores are sitting internally at the moment is actually at 84.7% for the entire year. Cool. So I know a fair few people in the telecom industry who would kind of kill for that customer satisfaction score because they're sitting anywhere between 13 to 40%. And they're really happy when they're at 40%. So we're trying to push in for, 90% next year. That's cool. That's the goal. But for the most part, the customer feedback that we get, the reviews that we're getting, it's positive. And like I said, you can't please everyone. But I think for the most part, those people have been burnt in the past. You don't have to give us another chance. I understand that. There is a sour taste. But if you do ever give us another one, you'll be pleasantly surprised. Yeah, nice. Excellent. Now, so let's talk about who you are in the company.
Yeah. I think, there's always rumours that get out there and such owns this and owns that. Trust me, I get it all the time with Ausgel and M4A01. Everyone bloody asks. I own Ausgel. That's all you need to know. Okay. But in the Tac Toys space, you've come in to offer some assistance to the company. Yep. The owners brought you on board. What's your position there?
So I'm the operations manager for the company. So I basically run all the day-to-day, whether that's, the warehouse, retail, technicians, and, obviously help with the online side of things. Yep. But, title isn't really all that much at Tac Toys. I do a lot of the higher function of the business as well and help the owner with a lot of that kind of stuff as well. So I'm constantly looking for new products that we can carry, new partnerships that we can make with, factories overseas or even, companies that want to do airsoft conversions over to gel ball. Yeah. So we've got so much cool stuff.
So you sort of sound like a pseudo COO.
Essentially, but I'm not all that concerned with the title so much.
It's good that you've got that humility there.
But I also obviously do a lot of the HR function of the business as well, which was something that was massively, massively needed at the start. Yeah.
Fantastic. Well, that's always good to know. So, so what's on the cards for the future with Michael and Tac Toys?
For us, we're kind of just looking at new things that we can bring in. Without revealing too much strategy going ahead, we've got some really cool stuff going on.
What are the exact models you're bringing in, and what are the dates that you're expecting the ships to dock it?
No, but we've got some really cool stuff coming up. So without disclosing too much, we've got some really cool budget HPA options coming along.
Nice. That's good.
So I know that HPA is very, very expensive in this community. Some of it's understandable, some of it not so much. We're looking at bringing an option that's affordable to a lot of consumers.
Good stuff.
So we're looking at doing that down the line. We're getting in, obviously more premium models, like, full metal with metal gearboxes. We're looking at getting more exclusives at, a really good entry-level price where you're getting a metal gearbox and something that's hitting 330 FPS and just got solid build quality. And
cool.
We're looking at sourcing stuff like that. We're looking at getting more into the premium pistol parts as well.
Okay.
So we've got a couple of things going along at the moment with a lot of aftermarket parts, really high quality stuff, like lightweight CNC BBU units and even stuff like V2 CNC gearboxes, which we want to offer, at a really, really competitive price to the community. Excellent. So, it's not going to break the bank to have like a really, really awesome build. That's our aim essentially going down the line, but just bringing in a little bit more variety. Not that anyone else isn't at the moment, bringing in some more variety under our brand at least, making things a bit more affordable and just, offering a good warranty on it all.
Excellent. Yeah. Oh, it sounds like a good future. And it's good that companies are still looking at, becoming more dynamic and getting alternative models in. That's always a real bonus. So, yeah. All right, cool. Well, look, again, thank you very much for coming in, Michael. Can you please share with our viewers and listeners how they can find yourself or Tac Toys?
With Tac Toys, we're on Facebook, we're on Instagram, we're on TikTok, and we obviously have our website, tactoys.com.au. With me, I'm not super on socials, so I don't really put my face on.
Maybe we'll have to change that.
You can find myself on some of the Tac Toys review videos, but that's about it.
Okay, cool. All right, awesome. Well, thanks again, mate. And ladies and gents, as always, I'm Dan from Ausgel. You can find Ausgel at www.ausgel.com.au, across all the socials as Ausgel, and on Instagram at AusgelAmmo. Thank you very much for listening and or watching. See you later. Thanks for tuning into our podcast. It means a lot to us. If you enjoyed today's podcast, leave a comment or review below and hit the follow or subscribe button. If you have any questions or want to be part of a future episode, or even want to know more about Ausgel, head to ausgel.com.au to get in touch.